And thank you again for joining us for today's self-care event, Renewing Intentions to Reconnect to Your Vision. In this journaling session, we welcome Jaclyn Roessel, president of Grownup Navajo. She is a poet, coach, and cultural justice and equity consultant, motivated to co-create futures where Indigenous peoples' lands and cultures are thriving, revered, and protected. Jaclyn is a wife, mother, and lives with her family in the Pueblo of Tamaya, New Mexico. So we hope that, so with that, we'll go ahead and pass it over to Jaclyn, who will go ahead and get us started in today's session. So join me in welcoming Jaclyn.
Yeah, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all. Just adjust my screens really quickly. Jaclyn Roessel and Shia Tachit Ki ani bashishi to the kosha dashe do bilagana dashnala lokochokai do sanakana danasha. I'm so excited to be with you all and am super grateful for this opportunity to share in this guided journaling. I am a lifelong journaler. I have always found both like inspiration, creativity, healing, but also just like clarity, like in my journaling process. And I've grew up as the oldest of 4 kids. So if there are any like eldest siblings, shout out to you, you know it's real. And I think that it was really like my journal was a way for me to have a space that I was able to process. And as I've gotten older, as I've learned new tools, it was always a way to like integrate things into my journaling practice to help me navigate through definitely challenging situations, through harm, through processing relationships, both romantic and like otherwise, healthy and unhealthy. And it helped me get clear about just what I needed to thrive in my life. And so I'm super grateful for my journaling. And I also I'm really excited for those of you who may be like stepping into this like new for the first time, or returning to journaling like after having sessions where you're like super frustrated and you're like, I don't get why this is supposed to help me. I get it, I understand, and I can help, hopefully at least provide some ease with this like relationship. So really like what you need is just like yourself, your open heart, and some paper. Maybe you don't even have a journal that you are using, but just like having some paper, even scrap papers. Yes, exactly. Being able to, I think like having something that's nourishing with you. I have a few pieces of chocolate that I probably won't get to till after our session, but I have my lemon water and my little bit of coffee. My partner's home from work today because of course it's the weekend, so like we fight over the coffee, who gets what, and so I have like the last bit in my cup. So just whatever feels nourishing. I also sometimes like to take pieces of like my what keeps me safe and protected. So that can look like candle. I have this little goddess figurine that a mentor gave me a few years ago, and so that's what I'm looking at today. So just things that are beautiful to you that you might find touchstones like around. We are connecting in a really important time in that yesterday we had an eclipse. We also had a new moon. And really new moons are beginning and birth. And like, it's interesting, like the push pull of like new moon and the eclipse. We in Diné culture, and of course many of our Indigenous cultures, really honor that energy of an eclipse as being a time when we're reverent. We do a lot of deep observations. And also we take time for rest and rejuvenation. We also follow a lot of protocols, so know that there are those too, but just recognizing that if you're feeling tired, if you're coming to this with like, oh, like just some heaviness or just like fatigue, I want you to honor that and like recognize that. And so much of journaling is like being present in yourself and just like noticing like what comes up. Some of you might have meditation practices. And I think that meditation and journaling, they provide unique benefits, but they're also similar benefits. And part of that is also just allowing us to like scan and recognize like what's coming up, and like what's there. And I am two things. I am a self-professed like fixer. I want to fix things. And I'm a perfectionist, a recovering perfectionist. And so my space in my journal allows me to kind of step away from those two roles that I fall into really easily. And so I give this as just, again, like love to others who might come from those same backgrounds and lineages too. And I see Jamie in the chat, like, yes. And so what I want you to do, so one of my power questions that I ask myself, but that I offer to other people is, do you want empathy or do you want strategy? And so this is my way for asking for consent with other people. And sometimes it's me, it's inward. It's like, do I want empathy or do I want strategy? Sometimes when I have a hard parenting day, I am like, I just need to reach out to another mama, another caregiver, and tell them that I'm having a hard day and like, just send me some love. Right. And sometimes like, I do want strategy. Like I want somebody, like sometimes it's my partner where I'm like, I need to know, like, what can you see in this, like, connections? And so my invitation to you in this moment, particularly if you're new to journaling, is approach this from kind of the mindset of like empathy, a little more gentleness today. Don't do hard work in your journaling session. Just kind of, we're here to make meaning, to make connections. And I want you to kind of show up for yourself with a big heart that is full of a little more gentleness and empathy. So that's kind of part of the offering I want to share. And I'm going to, let me just switch. I'm still getting used to a new computer. So if it seems like I'm taking a long time with certain things, because I can, I am. I think, the other thing I was going to say too is that we're also, for those that, which I do, like I find a lot of resonance in astrology. We're also, for those that do, like we are also starting Mercury retrograde. So like be patient, like Mercury retrogrades provide challenges around communication, are also times when we're revisiting the past, and actually you'll notice like part of our inspiration today, I'm actually pulling from like Mercury retrograde. And so even with that, like, take measure, take a minute, be in that place of just like, okay, like we're gonna go slow. And sometimes our technology is gonna go slow too, and it's okay. All right. So let me switch over. Keep it up first.
Thanks for that reminder, Jaclyn. My flight got canceled when I arrived here in Seattle. So I was just trying to be patient and not freak out, but I found a flight just like right before I got on. So I'll be home tonight.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. Sending you lots of love.
Thanks.
Yes, it is. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you all so much for joining. And I'm super, super grateful to be with you all. Oh, I keep hitting the same button thinking that something's going to be different, but that's not going to help. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So I am really honored to be joining you all. I feel like really coming to this place, Jen gave such a great comprehensive introduction, and I'm not going to expand on it too much, but really I'm kind of showing up in this space of being a coach, really like using the tools of grounding in like journaling to like help make connections. Jamie is a fellow coach. We went through the same program together. I believe and love coaching so much, and that it values the inherent wisdom that we all have as like human beings. I am so fortunate to work with almost exclusively with women of color clients, but completely with people of color. And it is so exciting to see the coach partners that I work with like make connections to really move in more alignment with like their purpose or their vision for their lives. And so I'm super excited to be sharing this. What I really want us to do first after all these introductions is to first get grounded. So you can come into whatever position is comfortable to you. Maybe that's sitting down, maybe that's standing up if you've been sitting. But there really is a somatic element, meaning a body element to coaching. It is about coming in tune with how your body's feeling. And I think journaling, as I mentioned, really aligns with this. So the first thing I want you to do is just kind of, whether you want your eyes open or closed, you're just gonna take your first couple breaths, noticing if that breath is feeling a little shallow, or maybe you're just already in it. You're just like, I need a deep breath, and this is my moment. And if that's you, just fill up those lungs, fill up your belly. Maybe try playing with your breath a little bit. On this next breath in, you're going to inhale just through your nose, filling up your belly. And you're going to exhale through your nose. And inhale through your nose. And now exhale at your choice, whether that's through your nose or through your mouth. And try to be loud in your breathing. So you want to kind of notice that air really hitting the back of your nose, filling your belly. And exhaling. And if it's available to you, we just kind of want to do some warm up. So you can inhale. You can bring your heart or your hands to your heart, touching palm to palm. And on this next inhale of breath, I want you to keeping your hands together. Inhale up above your head. And then as you exhale, just swoop your hands down. Bringing your hands back together at your heart center. And then inhaling up and exhaling down. If this hurts in any way, if there's tension in your neck or your arms, just be gentle. You can just hold them at your heart. You don't want to do anything, again, that's uncomfortable, or definitely if it's not painful, just breathe like inhale and exhale. And it's really just to get some movement through your body, warming up. We're going to be using our hands. We're going to be using our arms. You just want to take one more breath as deep as you can. Try to make it the deepest breath you've taken so far. And then exhale. You can return to the space. Just notice if there's any shifts or changes like in your body. We have welcomed each other into the space. We've grounded. And I just want you, one of the hats I don't get to wear very much lately is a poet. And I wanted to share a poem with you, one that always tends to ground me to other femmes, other people, other energies. And so I wanted to just share this as an offering. It's called Soliloquy of Honjo. And Honjo, if you're not Diné, is really, and maybe you are Diné and you don't know, but I did come to learn Honjo as really a value and a way of being in connection and balance with all living beings around us. It sometimes gets oversimplified as being like harmony, but it is harmony within all of the cosmovision that is this world. So it's really this really profound sense of how we find and achieve balance within a cosmos. And so this is the poem. I challenge you to find new ways to describe my essence, because I am beyond beautiful. I am the strength of a mother who pushed hard to bring her daughter into this world when her heart stopped. I am more than incredible. I am the resilience of my great 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 grandmother who escaped from Huelde to return to Diné. My insight runs deep as my heart beats to the rhythm of prayers sung by the medicine woman in my life. My light is the fire in the home. It's omnipresent, wrapping itself around you until the chill dissipates. I am light. I am love. Together, this force is strong. My force is strong as I unapologetically stand in its power throughout the day and long into the night. I won't submit to anything. I lived that way before, and that kind of tiny life hurts. I'm freer like this. I honor myself in this life by being the woman I am meant to be. I will grow. I will morph into my next form. I will become more woman. Understand, I am always becoming, not because I am not enough, but because I am everything. I am the trees, the sun, the flowers, the earth under your feet. I am the vivacity of flowing water as it caresses the embankment. I am a baby's laugh, the first laugh, because this laugh reminds us we are meant for this earth. I am meant for this earth, just like this laugh. I resonate in your soul, reverberate, and shake your being awake. I share this not as an excuse or a warning, but as a promise. I am molded in the image of changing woman, and my power is something I share, flaunt, and protect. It radiates from me, slowly burning away the darkness and exposing love. This prismatic energy will make you want to love me more. I know this because I love me more with each step and effort to be more free, to be more me. I constantly woo myself. My being is an endless love song, a soliloquy of Honjon sung like a prayer in a hogan, offering thanks and humbly requesting more blessings so this light can continue to shine, continue to exude, continue to radiate. Understand, I am always becoming, not because I am not enough, but because I am everything. And I'm so just honored. Thank you. Thank you so much for the love, and really just sharing that as an offering to just shake into this moment, to like tap into that creative like energy and spirit, and like offering, and wanting to also just remind you that, you know, there is also like science too, that like that we know, like in our just ways of being and knowing, right, that these things like movement and creativity of like reflection, these are inherently like practices that our people have always been aware of, and that we know too. Like we get glimmers of it throughout the day, like in those moments where you're just like on fire and you're jamming like in a work project, and you feel so good and you feel so uplifted by being in alignment with your purpose, that we have to hold on to those moments. And sometimes I think journaling for me is a way to kind of capture and allow me to like be in the presence of those places where like I can look back, I can read my journal and be like, wow, like you really thought like something completely different, like when we were writing this, or like, wow, like you really shifted, you really grew. Like look at how that situation, or like I can read stuff and I'm like, wow, like you're really fixated like on this particular situation, and like it's completely different now, right? And that's really powerful. So really just wanting to share like that journaling can help us reduce anxiety. And I experience anxiety and come from a family that definitely has experienced the impacts of depression in really debilitating ways. And so for me, journaling is also a medicine for me to navigate, to connect, to be develop a consciousness and really how I'm feeling. It can boost our immune function because it allows us literally to get things out of us, to put things on a page so that we're not holding them inside. Because sometimes like I can just write words. I can write really, like, I have a toddler, right? We call them ugly words. I can write like the ugly words down on a page and just like get them out of me and purge and like be like, okay, they're there. Like we don't have to carry them anymore. I love gratitude practices, and I also have a gratitude journal. And really journaling can also help us cultivate gratitude, and gratitude like is also mood boosting, it's mind boosting, healing. Healing benefits like include like that recovery from trauma. There are people who find it helpful to journal. And I should also say, like, journaling, in addition to other modalities, like I'm not saying that journaling is going to help you through the deepest of trauma alone, but that things like, you know, therapy and coaching, that those coupled with journaling can help us arrive to new considerations about certain places, certain instances, but it also allows us to develop a coherent narrative about our lives or our experiences. And so I encourage you. I've been in places in my life where I've realized that like journaling alone isn't going to get me to make the shifts in my life, that I need new tools. And those are often the moments at which I would have jumped into relationships like with like certain therapists who are able to like hold me and like help me like navigate through challenging moments. And we all know that this pandemic has provided that too, right? Provided a lot of opportunity for us to experience trauma, to revisit trauma, and relive it, which in of itself can be really difficult too. And the last thing really is, as a benefit, it can help us improve our memory and memory function, allowing us to cultivate and practice like recalling things, and noting, right? Like, oh, like this happened first. I think sometimes my friend, my Comanche brother, calls it like, be careful of your mind movies. Because sometimes our mind movies can wild out, right? And when we put things down on a page, or we're writing things down of like what comes first and next, like it allows us to see like, oh, actually this was the sequence, right? And like honoring and helping us to calm, helping us to kind of navigate things. So just wanting to like bring that into the space too. I'm also catching up in the chat. Yeah, thanks so much, folks, for all of these beautiful comments. So this is really the moment. This is the start of us like coming together. With our first, we'll do a couple different reflections. And this first one is just going to be a few minutes. We're going to take 5 minutes. So I don't want, if you're feeling like, oh, now I have to journal, like just remember we like loosened up like our bodies. We've come in connection with our breath. This first guided reflection is really what I want you to envision as a rainstorm on the page. This can be stream of consciousness. This can be simply as like, this is my first time journaling in so long. It really feels uncomfortable, you know, just whatever you want it to be and say. But I think my invitation is, you know, we look out, you know, especially for those of us are in the Southwest and, you know, just impacted by the lack of rain. Think about this as just like watering the page, like watering the environment around us, and taking that as inspiration. Jenna's going to play some music, so I want you to just write down on this page how you're arriving to this space, how are you arriving to this journal. If you need another question, you can be like, how am I feeling right now in this moment? And that's what we're going to be journaling. I'm going to shift and I'll drop that question into the chat, and Jen will play some music and we'll take 5 minutes. And if you don't want to journal with words, you can always turn down the volume, and then we'll give it a moment on on the way back in for you all to connect again, and we'll start back up.
We still was standing rock before I had a name. To erase the identity, all the names have changed. But it don't matter where you are or where you stand. The fact remains that this is still native land. The tragedies are listed in history. How justice still hasn't been served remains a mystery. Blood flows from the schools to the slaughter, to the missing and murdered mothers and daughters. The war club was handed down for centuries. They had a purpose, but fulfilled that eventually. But now instead of violence and casualties, I slay injustice.
Okay, so we're gonna come back. I'm gonna come back to this moment and just wanting you to, you don't even have to reread what you wrote, but just like notice how you're feeling, like in your body. Maybe you're a little like excited, or there was joy, or maybe there was just like release and tears, like whatever that feels. Just like, again, noticing with that self-compassion and that acceptance. So again, that was just our kind of grounding, like our opening, just recognizing like, wow, like I'm actually feeling really good. Like sometimes I'm journaling, I'm like, like I'm feeling okay. Like that is helpful. Like it's helpful to know, because there are sometimes like when I'm so used to like being super like on the go, or like in that like ready, my partner calls it my Indigenous ninja like mode, where I'm like, all right, like what do we got to do, right? And so sometimes it's nice to be like, whew, okay, yeah, like things are all right. So just like this kind of offering on the screen is just one that the history of my dear like one of honey actually started off with like my like from a poem called Dear Girl Made of Honey. And it was a poem that I needed, but that was also written for like my niece. And it was just a reminder of this like future thinking of ways, like, you know, this prayer of like what I hope like my niece has, and what I hope like my future self has, but also like what I want for like little Jaclyn, like who I still carry like with me, right? So dear one of honey, just me reminding you that you are worthy of exquisite rest and care. That this is me telling you that journaling can be that. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're like, the end of today, you're like, whoa, like that was cool, and I need something different. Like that's awesome. But just whatever it looks like, care can look a lot of different ways. Being inspired by this particular moment in like what we're experiencing now in like the skies and like the heavens and the planets, is just wanting to like give us a moment to reflect. And so I'm going to do a little bit of a coaching technique that, and usually we go a lot of times like with when I'm with a coach partner, like we'll visit our future selves. But today, because of just like what I'm feeling called to do, is really like thinking about a return to. And sometimes I think it's powerful to like relive memories. There are certain memories that I cultivate that are part of my grounding that I can like relate to and like think back toward, and like find like centeredness, to find joy. And so as we're starting, and like some of you all, like I know, are also getting ready to plant, like my family is getting ready to plant, or like literally like have been weeding and pulling up and getting like the land ready, right, for like the crops that we're going to plant. You know, we're getting ready for summer. There's a lot of inspiration that like our communities like hold around like things that happen at different times of this season. And to me, like finding rootedness and grounding is really important before we start on those journeys and paths, before we get to like those places of planting. So I want you all, and you can turn your screens off or on. We're just going to do a little tiny guided meditation, and then you're going to like reflect on like what you kind of have noticed, like, and observed. So I want you to, again, get in a comfortable position. Maybe this is laying down, maybe this is just sitting. I want you to come into your breath. Maybe you need to drink a water before you settle in. If you're feeling like worried or just kind of activated in this moment, you can just tell yourself that it's okay to be still, and it's okay to find this moment of stillness that will only be here for a few minutes. You can tell yourself that you are safe in this moment, and just keep breathing. Take another deep breath in and out, and in and out. And now I want you to cultivate a memory, and trust in yourself that you know the right one, but a memory of a moment of significance in which you felt calm, that you felt rooted or grounded, and that you felt joy. And let this memory come into your mind. Recall what you can about this particular moment. What time of day was it? Can you remember any of the smells? Can you remember who was there with you? Or was it a moment of peace just by yourself? Perhaps a rare moment. And as you step into this memory, just take note of anything else you didn't notice before. You can just keep breathing. I want you to kind of look around one more time, just feel this memory. As we begin to transition, you can just say thank you to this moment, that it's still there in your heart, and that you know where to find it. Take a couple of breaths. And you can come back to this moment. Whenever you're ready. Now we won't have any music for this one. I want you to just, when you feel that it's time, you can pick up your journal and your pen. And you can reflect on what meaning you want to make from this visit to this very sacred and important time. So just writing on your page, maybe there are new observations. So anything you want as a reminder from this time, you can capture it. And also anything new, like anything that stood out to you. What I am saying by making meaning is there any messages? Can you feel that inner voice telling you anything as you've gotten to relive this particular moment? So sometimes when we are able to journey to a place, journey to a memory, we can hear our little voice tell us something that we need to know. And you can write that down if that's something you want to keep with you. So we're going to take 5 minutes. You want to go ahead and take this last minute to start wrapping up? Sometimes it's helpful to drop any words you want to come back to. You can just keep what you can. Go ahead and come to a pause place. And this will just be like kind of like a 2-minute, something for you to come back to. This is kind of our final reflection together in our journals. So when you're thinking about that place of like rootedness and calm, I want you to think about one, this time that we're in. So we have like the eclipse, we have this like moment, which is and really the start of like the new moon cycle, which is really like beginning shifts in time. So it's a really good time to think about like releasing as we're making these intentions to like root, to cultivate calmness. Like, are there roadblocks or things that maybe you don't want to pick up like in this next moon phase? Like you're like, I don't want to hold that right now. I want to put that to the side. So things you want to release. And so this is just a little 2-minute journal purge of just things you want to let go of. Maybe you're holding a limited belief around even something as around like a workout. You're like, I'm really trying to break a certain personal record, or I'm trying to lift more and I can't quite seem to get it. But instead of telling yourself you're not going to be able to do that, just saying, I'm going to put that aside. I'm just going to see what's possible. So just taking a couple minutes to note what you want to release. So you want to start to close your thoughts around this topic, and again, taking any one-word notes or phrases if you want to come back to something, if you want to reflect on something more. come to a close. Maybe grab a drink of water if we begin to shift a little bit. If it's helpful to you, you can stand up and stretch, or maybe just like shake out your arms. Journaling, I find, is something that it's like what they tell you if you've ever gotten a massage. Like at the end of the massage, the therapist says like you can like it loosens like the toxins in your body. It's releasing like like draining your lymph nodes, like all sorts of things are happening like in your lymphatic system. And I think that they're similarly like when we're journaling, we can actually like dislodge things that are stuck, like certain emotions. I think particularly if you are a journaler or you continue to journal, if you have those sessions where like you're releasing tears, that's a really good indication of coming back and like at the end of it, like drinking some water, nourishing yourself, getting your favorite treat, things that kind of replenish you. Because again, like you're doing hard work, or you can do hard work even in things that might be simple, and I think sometimes we can overlook that. And so I often encourage journaling from a place of spaciousness. Yes, there are moments when I'm like, I have 10 minutes, the kids are napping before I can shift into something else. But I also try to give myself room for like big feelings. Like if I know I really want to come back to something, my process for journaling, especially when I'm doing like release work, like the last question, I'll actually come back through in my journal and I will, let me see if I can find a page. I'll come back and I will actually highlight. So I'll highlight particular pages or like parts from like certain intentions or things that I want to pull out. I do a lot of like affirmations around my house and in my workspace, and things I want to remind myself. I actually am looking at one above my desk that like reminds me to ask for support, to trust myself, to treat myself like a loving friend. And that in parentheses of that one, it says, especially when I'm getting lazy or starting to slack off. So like reminding myself that like, it's okay, like you're getting tired or what have you. So like, that's my part of my process is like, I'll actually comb through like my journal and like look through stuff. I think the other piece that I'll say too is that when I'm doing like work that that's really hard or really painful, I know that I don't want to come back to it, that it really is like a real letting go of things, but I don't want to write it on a separate page. What I will do is actually glue the pages together with a glue stick. So that way I know that I'm deliberately like releasing it and like moving away from it. Lots of different things, lots of processes. Now, one of my favorite books that I just recently got is this incredible affirmations book. It's called Affirmations for Turbulent Times by Sarah Payton. Sarah Payton is like a phenomenal, just like wealth of like healing knowledge. She also wrote the book called Your Resonant Self, and it comes with a workbook. But if you Google Sarah Payton, she does a lot of like mind like healing work. And so this Affirmations for Turbulent Times is like so incredible because it has affirmations. It's broken up into 2 sections. So it has like wonderings and then affirmations. And so wonderings are like the kind of like the little voice in our heads that kind of cause us to worry, or things that are like showing up, maybe causing like negative or intrusive thoughts. But the whole book is broken up into sections like parenting, like around the pandemic, around dealing something that's really close to home is like loving the planet. So around climate crisis, climate grief, eco-anxiety, working contributions. There's a lot of things. So this is like a tremendous like wealth book, but I picked out an affirmation just to read for folks So you can take this in how you want. But the affirmation is for the wondering is around creating something you love. And the affirmation is I celebrate my creation. Delight at its emergence fills me. I feel satisfaction, both that my creation has emerged and been completed, and that it came from me. I release any contracts I have to not appreciate myself. I step outside of my culture of no celebration and invite full embodiment, enjoyment that fills every cell. Satisfaction is the nourishment of artist satisfaction, some rest, and the dream of the next creation. So I hope that you all make time, especially if you're new to journaling, that you make some time to just like celebrate the entries that you made today. Because that in of itself, stepping into something new is something to celebrate and be joyful about. And I'm gonna stop sharing so I can look at your faces. Yes, thank you, Anna. And thank you so much. If I also just want to say, like, we are right at time. If you go to my website, there are contact forms, you can drop them in, and then I'll put my email down here too, just in case folks want to get in touch. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited that you all joined, and I hope that this was beneficial. I hope that there were ways that we made this, that I made this comfortable for you, so that maybe if you were new to journaling, that you felt at least safe enough to try to explore it and curious enough to. Yeah. Are there folks that want to share some reflections?
Thank you, Jaclyn. I didn't realize I needed this space today, but I did. I arrived thinking, how do I like strategically compartmentalize my brain in a way, but actually the free flowing is actually what really helped to kind of digest and kind of reconnect to myself. And then that talk about the releasing, like I needed to release these things on paper, because it was definitely what I was holding and not able to express or to feel or understand in the moment. So I appreciate this offering and this process. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Yeah. I will say, just as and really I think sharing specifically to April, I know that what I'm feeling is a lot of like intuitive, like energy around heavy, that realization might have been. And for those that might have shared like other heaviness, I really do think that we have the ability as Native people to actually enter into like ritual and ceremony on our own. There's a lot that can be self-determined. And I encourage you to think about what type of other type of ritual or releasing might be helpful. And I can share from when I was carrying my daughter in the pandemic and prior to vaccines, like over a year ago, I couldn't have like our pre-birth ceremonies that we usually do, like because I was expecting. And I actually, through journaling, I wrote down really a step-by-step process of things I wanted to do as a ceremonial offering that my partner and I were going to do to prepare for my daughter's birth. And it was through prayers that we knew how to say, things that we did, and medicines that we had. And the ending part of the releasing, like before she came, was really letting go of all the fears. I had a real traumatic birth experience with my son, and I was still carrying a lot of that pain, and we were choosing to birth at home. And so I really knew that I needed to release as much as the fear as I could. And so I intentionally made a deep, longer effort for me to just get everything out. And so I wrote like a big, long, like entry on free paper, like, so not a part of my journal, because I wanted it to be unfiltered in whatever I wanted to say. And then I actually tore those pieces apart and planted them in our garden. And this was in the winter time. And so it was literally like my way of letting them go and knowing that because they were paper, it would turn into something else. It would become something, become part of the earth. It would beautify in and of itself, be a part of me, releasing from me. And so I encourage you to think about what you need. If there's more that needs to be let go of, right? Even before you get to that place of like, well, what do you do with it, right? Like, what do you do now that you've made this realization? Honoring just like the space and the feelings for it, I think is really important. And then also just trusting that you know that you have the power. I believe that you have the power, each and every one of you, to put into action, to put into healing, to put into deeper reflection, whatever that looks like. But I just share that that was a part of like my releasing practice that I did, to prepare for that distinct event, and that there are other ways that you might be inspired to create something in a good way too. So I just thank you all so much for trusting me in this space. And thank you all so much for giving of your time. And yeah.
Thank you, Jaclyn. We really appreciate you sharing your time and energy and wisdom with us. It was really healing for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody, I hope you have a good day, good reflections, and thank you, Jaclyn. Have a good day, everybody.
Absolutely. Take care. Bye-bye.